It's Football Psyche, and I am Coach Mad Mike.
Lord Sarge!
All right, Lord Sarge, we're going to get into it today. Man, this is the 9th edition of the Commanders Edition, and we are going to start it off right by getting these slides up at the work for me. All right, here we go.
Unbelievable word. Number 9. Those 3 questions tonight. Do the Commanders have a secret on the offensive line? It's not possible.
Is that possible?
It's probably possible. Where do the DMV residents want the next stadium? DMV, Division of Motor Vehicles, in most places, but here it means everywhere around Washington, D.C., Virginia,
Maryland, and Virginia.
Yep. Have the Washington Commanders held meetings to discuss the Redskins' name and logo? Well, we'll see.
Oh, my goodness, man. This is going to be a good show. All right, but when we get into that, we're going to talk about the schedule here because we've showed this for the past few weeks now, but I just can't get enough of it because we want the season to get going, and the season will get rolling for our beloved Redskins on the 8th of September when we go on the road to Tampa Bay, and I'm going to be following them over there. My wife and I will be in Tampa Bay for that game and in that stadium, but our first home game will be 15 September. Lord Sarge and I both plan on being there, Lord Sarge.
Oh, yeah. You know, as I told you before, when Lord Sarge was a tiny Sarge, my very first game it took me to was the New York Giants visiting us at home at RFK. So this
oh my God, we have that in common. I never knew that. Like, we have that in common. My very first game that I ever went to when I was like 11 years old, that I won those tickets. I think you probably told you that. So I won those tickets with the paper route. It was against the New York Giants.
Really?
And we beat them in RFK. The Redskins beat the New York Giants in RFK 28-10.
Oh, I sat in the rain and we got our asses kicked, but what can I say?
Oh, no, they won when I was there. I actually saw John Riggins break a long one for a touchdown. And
wow, so both our introductions to the NFL were Giant skins. Now that tells you why we're brothers right there.
I'll tell you, man. I didn't even know that about you. I've known you for like 100 years.
Okay, that's crazy. That's cool.
Wow. How do I still learn something about you?
I don't know. Same here, man.
But anyway, we are also going to be on a road trip this year together. We are both going to be in Baltimore on October 13th to see the Redskins play the Ravens. Yep. And we're going to Baltimore for that.
What our number one Ravens fan, Louis Brennan. Thank you for subbing, Louis. He's gonna have the gut truck out there. We're gonna do a tailgate party podcast thing and get in and see the game.
I'm looking forward to meeting you, Louis. So hey, we'll get that going. All right.
I am hoping we can teach the Ravens a lesson.
So one of the things I stumbled across this week was about guard Sam Cosmi. Now, our line was beat the flip up last year. Like, I didn't even think there was a silver lining to it. Like, everything was a disaster. Sam Howell was on his back more than any other quarterback in the NFL. Our offensive line graded out excruciating bad. If we weren't last, I think we were like second to last.
Yeah, we're down.
We were like horrible. But I stumbled across a story that Sam Cosmi, out of that group, was ranked number 5 in the NFL last year. That the 4 people that were ranked before him took fewer snaps than he did. Like, he played continuously. That Pro Football Focus graded him out as an 80.6, which is really high.
Phenomenal.
And he only gave up 1 sack. Out of the million sacks that were given up last year, he only gave up 1 of them. Like, that's
he was like a little Dutch boy putting his finger in the dike when the dike's leaking. I'm plugging the hole, but the rest of the dike fell around, broke around him.
He did this so quietly. I think this is news probably every Redskins fan out there. Like, he is our secret weapon. And I want to tell you something else about him is that he was not only ranked in the top 5 of guards last year in the NFL, he was ranked by Pro Football Focus as the number 1 offensive player for the Commanders last year. That means he outscored Terry McLaurin, Brian Robinson, everybody else that we had. He outscored them all. Like, how did we not know about this?
Dodson and McLaurin, he outscored. His score was higher than theirs.
His PFF score was the highest of any offensive player for the Commanders last year.
Wow.
I was like, wow. So, like, this is some kind of thing. I'm just gonna say, I think we have a little bit of a secret weapon here on this guy on the offensive line, and we've added a bunch of other pieces. But this was one player that Adam Peters and Dan Quinn very quietly said, "Oh yeah, we're holding on to this guy. We're holding on to this guy."
Thank God they held on to something.
Telling you. So that brings us to our lovely draft pick, Brandon Coleman. I stumbled across something else. I am a huge Chris Cooley fan, so I follow Chris Cooley a little bit. He's also, from time to time, will get on talk radio and give his comments about things. And one of the things I like about Chris Cooley is, even though he's retired now, he still stays engaged and takes a look at guys and grades them out himself and gives like draft cards.
Coach Mad Mike.
Yeah, go ahead.
You know what my favorite sound is in the stadium?
What's that?
Cool.
Oh man, I missed that. I missed that. I bet he misses being out there on the field hearing that too.
I love that.
I love watching him play so much. To me, he was the greatest tight end in all of Redskins history.
Cool.
That guy was phenomenal. I just love Chris Cooley. I mean, he wasn't on a lot of very good teams, but my goodness, he was always extremely reliable. Well, he did his own analysis on Brandon Coleman, and he goes, "He's a project."
Mm.
And so I was like, okay, wow, that's a pretty bold statement. I want to know what he really said about it. So I got his notes.
Oh,
he says he looks very athletic on the field. He has a 34-inch vertical leap at the combine. Wow. And that's pretty good for a dude that weighs 350 pounds.
He weighs more than Large Sarge?
He weighs more than Large Sarge. 350
I think I jumped 3.4 inches, and he jumps 34?
He jumps 34-inch vertical leap. That's pretty phenomenal.
What else?
I see him as a really adequate pass protector. He has good hands, a good punch. He's hard to get around. He gets his arms extended. He has good feet. He does a good job keeping his feet square at the line of scrimmage. He has a great range as a puller. He's explosive, and he can run. He played a lot of guard at the Senior Bowl. That's why many project him to be a guard and not a tackle, but it's a good thing that he can do both in the pinch. I think he plays high, really uptight and tall. He has a tendency to bend at the waist. I think this is where he gets in the most trouble. It hurts him when it comes to time for a change of direction. He is a position blocker in the run game. He's not a physical run blocker. He is not Trent Williams. Ooh, remember that comparison that we heard before about Trent? Oh, he says he's not Trent Williams. He's going to try to get in. He's going to get his hands on you, and he's going to get his where he doesn't want the defender to go. He is going to try a quick and a turn, and he goes, I hate that. He stops his feet on contact. He's not a physical power driving guy, and he's going to get a beat a lot, especially in the run game.
So Coach Mad Mike, I'm just a fan, right? I'm just a fan. So what I'm hearing, Chris Cooley says this guy is not going to be good for our run game, but he might be what we need in our pass game.
He might. He continues on. He says, I'd like to see him do a better job of finishing blocks. I'm concerned about his ability to sustain blocks, especially in space. He is a true athlete. He has a ton of innate physical ability. He has a good understanding of pass protect. Okay, so he does have that. But in terms of being an every down, get it done type of guy, there's going to be a lot of positions that they'll try to put him in, and he's going to struggle. I can't put him at left tackle and run behind him. He goes, that's just a thing that's not going to go well. I think that he has some situations where he's going to need to improve quite a lot.
But Coach Mad Mike, he's the 3rd round pick.
And he's a rookie.
Yeah, it's what
third
round picks are, projects, right?
You got some that are. There is a transition to the NFL. Everybody's a little bit of a project when they come in, but I think if Chris Cooley saw that, I think I probably will take that and say that there's probably a lot of truth to that, right? So
sound like good analysis.
And we talked about this a lot. not having the analytical background of grading him out like Chris Cooley did. But we talked about this on the show numerous times. I mean, when he goes up against all pro and just NFL edge rushers in general, that's a huge difference than playing at Texas Christian University. That's not even in the SEC, right? So, I mean, it's going to be a huge jump from, even though it's D1 football, it's not SEC, ACC type football. I mean, it's, you're going against guys that are not going to make it to the next level. Right. And now you're going to be going against guys that this is what they do for a living and they're all pros, and you're going to have a learning curve.
But hey, he's the 3rd round pick. He was, midway in the round. And if he's a project and he's smart, he's a good kid and he pays attention to the people around him, he's got a chance.
Certainly has a chance, doesn't he?
Right? Got to test him. Got to put him under pressure. Got to test that boy. But you was reading me what Cooley said, and what I don't understand is, how does he stand up, but then he's always bent over at the waist? That didn't make sense to me.
He plays a little upright, but then I guess when he's upright, I guess he still has a tendency, I guess, to bend a little at the waist. That does.
You know what I see?
I don't know.
See a boy who's 350 pounds. 350 pounds.
350 pounds. That's
hard to push around.
To get around it. Hard to get around.
That's hard to push around. That's a big boy.
That is a big old boy.
Is he projected to start? I can't remember.
He was going to be our starting left tackle. But I think we're going to go with Cornelius Lucas until he's ready. Ultimately, I think they want to see him play left tackle. I wouldn't rush it. And after hearing the Chris Cooley report, I think we'll probably start off with Cornelius Lucas. All that being said, it's awful early in the process. We're still in OTAs, right? We got training camp. You don't know how injuries when they start playing, when you start putting pads on, are going to affect things. You don't know what he's going to look like. Like, he's going to be one guy I'm going to watch on that offensive line when he gets in there during preseason.
See if that boy's a Big Mac boy. Is he hungry?
That's right. Is he hungry? So that brings us to our
$5 biggie bag boy, right? Is he hungry or is he snacking?
So that brings us to our OTA update and seeing how the team's going. And I got a little bit of report, so let's take a look.
Commanders with a little news out of its organized team activities today. Head coach Dan Quinn said the team will have at least one joint practice with another team.
Yeah, that could be fun. That will come in mid-August. They'll head down to Miami a day early, practice, and then take on the Dolphins in preseason game opener 2 on August 17th. With more on those OTAs, here's Chick.
They got after it on Wednesday. The hot sun in Ashburn. Now, while the defense went through their paces, it's even nearly impossible for them not to stop and watch the rookie, Jaden Daniels.
He's cool, man. He's a quiet guy. He comes in, he works. And, I pride myself on being one of the first guys here, and he always beats me here. So I think that's pretty cool. Stays late. He does everything you want out of your number 2 overall pick rookie quarterback. So I'm excited to see him work, excited to see him play. I'm just focused on what I got to do to try to make his life as easy as possible.
Now, the schedule for the OTA says next week off for the Commanders. But don't get it twisted. This is a full-time gig. As they say, this ain't no hobby. All part of the process.
Early part of the day, meetings and workouts. And so in the strength and conditioning side, different things on different days. And then we go a portion inside where we work a lot of team and go through blitzes and run game to that. And then outside, we really work like there's a long piece on our skill development. And so as you're going through it, Chick, that's what this time of year is about. Think of crawl, walk, run.
Running the defense is 13-year veteran linebacker Bobby Wagner. He said the process to winning begins with something simple.
The biggest thing is getting to know the people, getting everybody's name, from everybody that plays to the chefs, the people that make the food, to the people that take care of your jerseys and things of that nature. I think that's the biggest thing is, creating that rapport, because football is going to be football, but, it's the teams that grow the closest, that come together, that I feel are the ones at the end of the season, happy with their results.
Wagner comes from 12 years in Seattle and 1 year in L.A. He said the toughest thing about coming east is watching NBA basketball. Games start at 10:30 and around 12:30. He's up at 6:45 for practice. Welcome to the East, Mr.
Welcome to
Wagner.
the East.
With the Commanders, Chick Hernandez, WUSA 9 Sports.
I tell
There
you,
you go.
Mike, I'm not impressed. I'm not impressed.
What are you not impressed about?
The top thing on Wagner's mind is getting to know who's going to press his jersey out. What? That's a priority. I get it. You got to know the people, but who's going to take care of my jerseys?
You got to know who's taking care of jerseys, what food he's going to get, and the fact that he has to watch basketball really late at night. He's got to get up early in the morning.
This boy got priorities? Or is he? I mean, I know if I'm coming in, my first job is to find out all the cheerleaders' names. That's what I'm doing. But, I mean, other than that, it's football. But who's going to clean my jerseys?
That's important stuff, man. You want to know the little people, man. The little people are going to take care of you.
It takes a village, right? It takes a village.
It does. It does, man. So anyway, another thing that's kind of interesting is coming along right now is the Commanders are putting their name in the hat. It was just recently announced that for 2026, the NFL draft is going to be held in Pittsburgh. Next year, it's going to be held in Green Bay. So right now, everybody's vying for 2027. And in 2027, the Commanders are really fighting. They've got to back up the D.C. officials to try to get it to be in D.C. So there you have it. And we are going next year to Green Bay, aren't we, Large Sarge?
We're going to be there. We're going to be there with cheese on our heads. And red jerseys on.
That's it. So one of the things that we try to get into is when it comes to the stadium, where does everybody want the stadium to be? Do you want it in Virginia? Do you want it in D.C.? Or do you want it in Maryland? One of the things I found very interesting around here, it's not a shocker that D.C. area people want it in D.C.
Yeah, they want it back.
But what I do find shocking is a majority of Marylanders want it in D.C. and a majority of Virginians want it in D.C. Overall, 51% want it in D.C.
Coach Mad Mike, you was at RFK, right? Like me?
Yep.
You remember the old stadium, right?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think? What's your opinion? You like where it's at?
I would like to see them clean out that area a little bit better, build a really nice stadium, and yes, I want it back in DC. We are a Washington, team.
It makes sense.
Our headquarters has always been in Ashburn, Virginia, but prior to that, like our stadium was in the nation's capital,
right?
And now we're in our stadiums at FedEx. It's in Maryland. I mean, whatever. I mean, it just doesn't make sense to call us the Washington Commanders when we're not in Washington.
Yeah. Now, RFK, if you'll remember correctly, is an open-air stadium. And that was part of the heart of the game, right? Because you got all kinds of weather. You got the spring heat. You got the fall heat. Then you got the dead of cold winter. You could have had anything here in Washington for a game, right? It made it fun. So if we did get a new stadium, would you be a fan of going for the new dome kind of, everything's got to be a dome, right? If we got a dome, we could be, Washington area could be a Super Bowl stadium kind of stadium, right? But without it ain't going to happen, right?
Some of the designs I saw were closed. I saw a few that were open, but I think that they're trying to go dome. It's like, I think Jerry Jones of the Cowboys of all teams, right? But like the idea is if you're gonna have one, make it a dome and you can always open it up and make it an open thing on top. So like that's kind of like the going trend. Because you want to be able for the city, especially if the city is going to put a bunch of taxpayers' money into that stadium, you want to give them an opportunity to compete for a Super Bowl to bring that money to the city.
Right. And they don't put Super Bowls in open air stadiums, right?
No, they do not, because of weather. They want the Super Bowl to be in the best of conditions. They want it inside of a dome.
I get it. But
that being said, when it's played in Tampa, it's open, but it's Tampa.
I'd like to kind of see the new RFK be an outdoor stadium and Shakira going, it's a cold day. Let me shake my hips.
Well, Shakira already did a halftime show. I don't think they're going to invite her back.
You don't think she'll come back?
They usually just do it one time and then they try to find another artist.
Yeah, I think you're right.
So I think that they moved on. So anyway, one of the things that I came over with the new name, and that's Logo-versy.
Logo-versy.
All right. And I've got a video to talk about Senator Steve Daines, but Senator Steve Daines wants to oppose the bill that would bring a new stadium in the site of where RFK was in DC, unless they are the Washington Commanders organization, which means Josh Harris and crew will change their logo back to the Redskins logo. He's not asking for a name change right now. He's just asking for the logo because it represents Chief Two Guns White Calf, who is one of the people who were on the Buffalo Nickel, who led the Blackfeet tribe in Montana, and his descendant Walter Blackie Wetzel met with John F. Kennedy in the 1960s and helped design this logo that we see in our helmet. It was not a character. It was not a mascot. It was a real historical person that they wanted to honor. This guy is like a celebrity amongst 80 Native American tribes.
Coach Mad Mike, you think Senator Daines is trying to thread that needle so that they don't have to use the name, but because the image is actually a historical figure, that he could get the image back but keep the name, the Commanders?
Well, there's a lot of discussion about
there.
There's a lot of discussions about what the name would be, but like I think he's going about it from the angle that he thinks that he can win, and the angle that he thinks he can win is the historical argument.
He's trying to thread it,
and so let's take a listen to what he had to say.
Happening now, pressing pause on new development at the RFK Stadium site. A senator from Montana standing in the way of a bill allowing D.C. take control of that site, a potential move by the Washington Commanders back to the district. Montana Senator Steve Daines said in a hearing today before he agrees to sign the land over to D.C., he's demanding the NFL and the new Commanders ownership find a way to honor Washington football's strong ties to Native American culture, namely the Blackfeet tribe in his state of Montana. He says back in the 1960s, Blackfeet tribe member Blackie Wetzel worked alongside the team then known as the Washington Redskins and encouraged the team to include Native imagery in its logo. The Montana senator says the team's most recognizable logo was inspired by Blackfeet Chief Two Guns White Calf, a comparison you can see right here in these photos on your screen. Senator Daines says it's time to restore and honor this forgotten part of Native American and Washington football history.
Make no mistake, this logo was inspired and envisioned by Wetzel as a tribute. It's not a caricature. My goal is for the Washington Commanders to honor the pride, the history, and the heritage of the Blackfeet tribe for the tribe's contributions to the team's legacy.
Senator Daines there says there's already been at least one meeting between current Commanders team ownership and leaders from the tribal group. Coming up at 5, we'll hear from D.C. neighbors about what they want to see here if the D.C. land rights deal goes through.
You know, Coach Man Mike, that might be the right approach, you know, politically.
I think so, because all you have to do is you got to say, you know, the Native Americans, you know, we have Native American month. We have, you know, a lot of Native American history kind of things that are going on. And, you know, the Native American national level organizations right now are frustrated. They're frustrated because they don't feel like that they have a voice. In the current culture and the current landscape, it is everybody's loud, everybody's like controversial, everybody's like this. And they're like forgotten. And they're like, wait a minute, don't tell us what's racist. Don't tell us, don't dictate on our culture, on what something is honorable, not honorable, racist or not racist, right? If you want to know something about Native Americans, you ask us, you ask Native Americans, and we'll tell you whether or not we are supported or not supported, right?
Yeah.
So that, and I'm all for that. Like, why are we looking for somebody else to dictate that, right? And by the way, I don't think anybody was really looking for that anyway. I think that's just the kind of the way that it went, right? So anyway, there's a battle between the Native American Guardians Association and the National Congress of American Indians. And I went over this. So this is the first time that you're seeing this. Go back to my actual video that I did this past week. I did this past Wednesday on the name change. All right, you can find it there. Look at it. I think it's like a 23-minute video. It is extremely well worth it because I break this down in excruciating detail.
You schooled me, Coach Mad Mike. You schooled me. I learned
right.
a lot.
And so the North American Guardians Association sued the Commanders for what they thought was defamation, a civil rights violation, some civil conspiracy going on, and what they felt that the team was trying to suppress American Indian history. Now, this case was dismissed on the 7th of April, but the fight is not over. And one of the issues, the reason why the case was dismissed was because another competing organization of Indians, the National Congress of American Indians, opposed the Redskins name, and it was mostly done by leadership. When there were several studies that came on that says 90% of Native Americans support the Redskins name, but it seems like the 10% that are in leadership that belong to the National Congress of American Indians, they came up and passed a resolution called DEN-18-044 in 2018, saying that they thought the word was offensive, and not based off of their own definitions, because they actually agree with the Native American Guardians Association. The issue that they had was how the white man defines redskin in their own dictionary. When they looked at English dictionaries, it's an offensive term, and that's the problem that they had with it.
Boy paid $6 billion for the team, and then they come after him in court. It wasn't even him. They should. Why did they wait till 2023? They should have gone after Dan Snyder. Why did they wait so long, Coach Mad Mike?
Well, Dan Snyder was a target of them his entire time period.
Well, they didn't sue him for
defamation. Oh yeah, they did. Yeah, they did too. They went back. Oh yeah, they went after him too.
Okay, all right.
And they've been pretty consistently dropping court cases on it, and I don't think that this is over by any stretch of the imagination. So one of the things I did on the last of that video, and you really need to go back and look at that video, fans, if you haven't seen it, is I gave my own opinion about this, and I thought that the name change itself would be highly unlikely to return. Now, Sarge, you disagree with that?
I don't think it's as highly unlikely as you think, because I think all this, let's not get political on our channel, but I think all this stuff that we had for the last few years, I think it's a flipping. So I think where I would have agreed with you 2 years ago, now the political winds of change are changing back to the way they used to be. I don't think it's as unlikely, but I love this senator idea, not doing the name, but doing the logo. I think has a really good chance.
Yeah, I think the logo does. But what you'll see if you go and you look at the Native American Guardians Association is they have a whole thing on there. You can click on one of their tabs that says, is Redskins racist? And they give you a whole thing about the true meaning behind what the Redskin meant. And the whole thing behind what the Redskin meant was war paint. They used the red root plant to make red paint, and they would paint it on their head, their torso, their arms and legs to go into battle. And they thought that the warrior gods would protect them. And so that's how they came up with the name. It actually had nothing to do with pigmentation or race at all.
That's right.
And the problem that I have with American culture,
it had nothing to do with skin color. It was all about face paint.
Yeah, it's face paint. But what I have a problem with in American culture is we'll throw a fit. We'll have people within our society, and I'm not trying to get political, right? But we'll have people that go off the edges because they perceive something to be racist and not do their homework. Yep. And that's just very disingenuous.
They heard it from their brother, who told his dog, who fed the cat, who told the parakeet,
and they're all wrong.
The turtle told the mama, and then the mama told the husband, and now the husband's against it.
Yeah.
The facts.
And nobody did their homework in that tree, right? So I was like, come on now. But anyway, one of the things that I felt like it could do is if you go and you look at those independent studies, they had issues. And so I think if there was an independent study that was done that could have the Indian community speak with one majority voice, it's not going to be unanimous, but a majority voice, right? That's consistent. And they would probably be heard. And I would say that if they testified before Congress and gave that to Congress, their independent study. Now, they both got to agree. Both these opposing teams got to agree to this independent study, and they both have to agree to live with the outcome, right? Which is tough. But if they do that, then I have a feeling then that's what it would take. But in the absence of that, Large Sarge, when Dan Quinn put on a T-shirt that said Washington Commanders and it just had 2 feathers. How are feathers even racist? But it was a controversy over 2 feathers.
I love that shirt. I want to get me one of them.
It's just absolutely stupid.
Anyway, Coach Mad Mike, you also sent me a poll. There's a poll out there right now, actually a petition, and they're looking for 100. Well, I guess they passed the first goal, so they set the next goal higher. But when I signed up for the petition to change the name back, it was like 132,965 was my number. But they want 150,000 signatures on that poll. That's powerful stuff.
Yeah, so you can get that poll too. If you go back and you look in the description of my previous video, you can see the link and you can see everything. You must go back. Like if this topic really interests you, you must go back and watch that video.
If you're a real Washington fan, you have to watch that vid. You seriously have to watch. It was educational.
That's right. And so anyway, so I think that as we move forward, we need to bring it back, baby. At least bring back the logo.
Bring it back.
And we'll go from there.
Bring it back.
I mean, as much as we have a W here, I would much rather have the logo that you see behind me, that you see on the flag behind Large Sarge there, and we see on this screen, right? I mean, 2 Guns White Calf. We need his logo back up there.
Yep.
All right, and there you go, guys. This is our edition today. I hope y'all enjoyed it. This is Football Psyche, and we are out of here.
We are out. See you next week.